Hey all you horror fans and horror geeks, welcome to the Chop Block, the only block where the horror community can come together to sit back, relax, and enjoy the genre. I'm your host, Ashton Austin, and I hope you'll chill with me as I dive into cinema's most unique genre, providing screams and scares for decades. So to all my final boys and of course my final girls, grab your coat hangers, grab your knives, and of course your guns. Because I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're next on the Chop Block. Welcome back to the Chop Block. Today, we are putting the Halloween franchise into a tier list. We're going to be ranking it. You guys know, I'll keep saying it. You know, maybe I don't own the title, but I'm going to own the title in my head. I am the biggest Halloween fan. I know we got Scream 1, 2, 3, Wednesday with the big frame. And then we got Screams 4, 5, and y'all really never see it because it's out of shot, but Scream 6 is down there too. But I like Michael, and I love Halloween, and that is my franchise, that is my jam. And I've already done a ranking of his mask. That was a video I did earlier into my channel's creation. It's not as good as some of our videos now, you know, as I'm just still, you know, getting the jitters out and getting comfortable with being a content creator. But I feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable with my channel. I'm comfortable with my audience. And that is what I really wanted to wait for before I made this video. So now that we're all good and comfortable and settled in, it's time for us to go ahead and rank my favorite franchise in all of cinema. Our tiers are as follows. It was The Boogeyman, a direct quote from Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode in Halloween 1978. Then we have Donald Pleasence's, as a matter of fact, it was. And also a direct quote from 1978. Then we have Get Your Ass Away From There, which means this is middle of the pack, but let's not go in this direction. It's okay, but we don't want this. Also a direct quote from Pleasance in 76. This in the man. That could have been Halloween 2. That could have been Halloween 4. That could have been any Halloween, but that's a Loomis quote. And finally, It Needs to Die. And I believe that may have been Halloween 2018 or Kills. I can't remember for sure, but it's a Hawkins quote. So, you know, without further ado, we're going to get into it. I'm putting the first Halloween, and it was The Boogeyman. And there, I'm going to spoiler alert you now, there will not be a film that ranks higher than the first Halloween. The first Halloween is so well made. It's such a well made film. I love everything about the first Halloween. Obviously there are some, you know, it doesn't time frame as well, you know, like the alarm going off when Laurie and Annie got to the hardware store, the fact that the mask was stolen out of the hardware store, or, you know, just little things, little nitpicks. But when you look at this as an overall film, number one, Michael stalking the entire day is just something they don't do anymore. Michael got to know his victims. We don't know anything about Michael, but there was a mystery to Michael because he wasn't this Terminator we know him as now, or he just wasn't, you know, this force, this shape that you know is just can run through everything. In Halloween 1, we're finding out who Michael is as he finds out who his victims are. Another underrated aspect people don't talk about in the first Halloween is how smart they wrote Michael as. I like to point out the scene where Laurie goes over to the Wallace home, right? And when you think about what Michael did in terms of killing Annie, in terms of killing Linda, in terms of killing Bob, you could tell after stalking the whole day, he knew Laurie was the one. To Michael's credit, he made her escape out of that house as difficult as possible. She had to pull a him and open palm the window to get out of there. And it's stuff like that that I've always loved about this film. I love the usage of Michael in the edge of the frame. Michael being on the edge of the screen at almost all time really puts the viewer on edge, okay? Again, there's some things that doesn't know how to time frame, like when Loomis is in the shrubbery at the Myers house, and then he turns around and he sees the car. Well, from what we know, Michael is in full force, and he hasn't left. block with the Wallace and the Doyle home. So how is the car there? Did you not look for the car? Have you been standing in that shrubbery and you haven't turned around one time, Dr. Loomis? What's going on there? So like I said, there are some time framing issues in the first Halloween. It's a low budget horror movie and no film is perfect. We all know this, but this film right here is extremely good. It's a great horror film. The first Halloween has so many impressive feats. First and foremost, Donald Pleasance gives a masterful performance. Jamie Lee Curtis being introduced in this film does a hell of a job. PJ Souls, Nancy Loomis. I mean, this is a Charles Cypher. This is a well-casted film because not only Michael lurking around and just the tension itself, but the characters are well put. They're well-rounded. Every character fits, you know. This town feels lived in, which makes Michael's arrival and Michael's disturbance that more terrifying. It looked, you know, in the 70s, it looked like a neighborhood. It looked like your neighborhood, you know. It looked like a neighborhood that, you know, that you've been in before, you know, a neighborhood that you live in, you know. It looked like just a regular place where life is being lived. And then boom, Michael Myers. And that's just kind of, you know, that's just kind of what horror is. I think John Carpenter did something a lot of people don't do. He didn't overthink horror. He thought about it like this. You know what? Let's take a regular neighborhood. Let's stick a serial killer in there. Those things happen at times, and he executed it very well. I mean, I could deep dive into this Halloween and just tell you all the things that John Carpenter does so well, but y'all already know that. It's these later controversial sequels that y'all wanting me to get into. I'm already knowing. So let's go ahead and go to Halloween 2, which I'm going to put in, as a matter of fact, it was. Halloween 2 definitely feels like Halloween 1, but then there are some things like Michael's mask obviously fits different from the change in actor from Nick Castle to Dick Warlock. Warlock's robotic Michael performance, it is heavily debated. I'm not a fan of it. Just, it's the same night. You could say he got slowed down after Loomis.
Got him 6 times.
But I don't know. I'm still in between on Warlock's performance. To this day, I still can't decide if I like it or not. You could say the shape was slowed down, but I mean, good God, I mean, after all he went through, I don't think those 6 shots would honestly have slowed him down, really. Let's be honest. So you could say that, okay, he was walking that slow because he was slowed down, because I want to give y'all 2 very important scenes, right? Let's talk about the street chase in Halloween 1, where, I don't know, Michael stops for fucking coffee before he leaves the house to start actually chasing Laurie, but that's neither here nor there. When he does leave, though, he's walking, but you can kind of see he walking, but he hauling ass kinda as he comes across that street. This Michael, not so much. I mean, if I'm just saying, if 78's Michael, right, was in Halloween 2, which is supposed to be, I don't think some of these chase sequences in this film are survivable for Laurie Strode. So that's almost what it feels like. John Carpenter has put it on record many times. He is not a fan of this film despite making it. So that also brings it down for me, just that I know the original creator did not like what he produced regarding Halloween 2, but Halloween 2 is still great. I mean, we got the cinematography back. The wig on Jamie Lee Curtis's head is horrible. But other than that, we have some memorable kills. The body count expands, of course. We get more screen time with Michael. And we, of course, get the biggest twist in the film, that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are siblings. It kind of goes against what John Carpenter intended for his villainous character. I mean, it gives Michael a reason, it gives Michael a motive, and that was the biggest thing I think they wanted to address in this sequel. When you think about the first Halloween, it's got a lot of loose ends, but that's just how some of these, you know, horrific events in life happen sometimes. Some people just snap and never say why. You'll never find out why. And the first Halloween has some loose ends, and we never found out why Michael Myers did that. And honestly, had producers and studios and Mustafa Akkad and whatnot, had he not wanted to keep it going, right? Had he not wanted to keep it going, it probably would have stayed like that. But now let's thank the good Lord that Mustafa Akkad did keep it going. God rest his soul. Because we love this franchise. I'm not gonna try to act. We love this franchise. All right, we love it. I won't be doing Halloween 3. I'll talk about Halloween 3 in another video. So yeah, I'm putting Halloween 2 in. As a matter of fact, it is a very good sequel. It's too slow in my opinion. It runs a little long. It has some moments where you can find yourself getting bored. But I mean, the kills memorable. Michael is still as chilling as ever in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis still doing a hell of a job. Oh my God. And I didn't even bring up Donald Pleasance. The first film, he was grounded. He was who he was, a doctor. The second film, he's losing it. He's losing it. And Pleasance is embracing it. That's what I love about Donald Pleasance. He embraces Loomis's insanity as these films go on. The deeper we get into the franchise, the deeper Pleasance goes as far as playing Loomis as an insane, batshit crazy, trigger-happy old man. And I fucking love it. So I'm putting Halloween 2 right here, and as a matter of fact, it was. Now, our next one is Halloween 4. And Halloween 4 is going to go in, get your ass away from there. Halloween 4 is solid. I like the film, but let's not go in that direction because, I mean, come on. That was a basic rip-off return to form. Now, at this point, we've only got 3 Michael Myers films. I mean, 2 Michael Myers films. Halloween 4 being the 3rd Michael Myers film. But it's like, okay, you gotta do something different. We got the brother-sister timeline. Jamie Lee Curtis will not be returning to the franchise. John Carpenter has officially bowed out of the franchise. How do we get creative with this thing? Boom. They give Jamie Lee Curtis a daughter by the name of Jamie Lloyd. Not Jamie Lee Curtis, but they give Laurie Strode a daughter by the name of Jamie Lloyd. Now, Jamie Lloyd was an excellent addition. She was well played by Danielle Harris, and that definitely rose the stakes to see the Shape hunting a little girl. But then there are some places this film falls extremely short in. It just falls short in memorable kills, number 1, except for Bucky. Everybody else is just kind of stabbed and gone. I like the kill with the shotgun through the wall, but we've seen that before, right? So, I like the roof sequence. That gives Michael something different. That really shows his true relentless nature. I love the roof sequence, actually, but it's still so basic as a film. It still doesn't necessarily do anything amazing until the end, where little Jamie Lloyd flips and attacks her foster mother. And what also brings Halloween 4 down is that since that ending was so good and the way they followed up that ending was so bad, it's almost a throwaway ending. The ending of Halloween 4 almost means nothing. Simply there for shock value and to get another film, hopefully. And that's what it did. Which brings us to Halloween 5, which is coming in. This isn't a man. Halloween 5 is hot garbage. I mean, it's not the greatest of films. And clown noises on cops. The Michael mask is bad. I like the kills in Halloween 5. The characters are bad. We killed the tough heroine from the previous film. Only 20 minutes in, and we turn her into an airhead. We turn her into Cops Do It by the Book. We turn her into Kelly. We turn her into Kelly. 20 minutes in, she's Kelly, walking around the house pantless to get killed by Michael. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. That is my first grievance with this film. But then they give us Tina. We don't give a damn about Tina. Lindsay was in the Halloween 4. You could have brought back Lindsay before you give us Tina. Then we got the Man in Black nonsense going on. Dr. Loomis has lost his fucking marbles in this one. I mean, you can almost confirm Dr. Loomis has gone crazy in this one. He's doing a non-Dr. Loomis things. Like, I get it gets to a point where you want to catch Michael, but you cannot convince me the Loomis that Dr. Loomis would really sit there and put a child in this much danger without a more solid plan. I think it is dumb that some stuff went down over there at the child clinic and the entire police force had to go. Whatever went down, it's best to assume that when you get there, 9 times out of 10, killer will not be there. The plan being executed. Who Myers is. He killed the whole police force in Halloween 4. Why on earth did we leave Loomis and Jamie with one cop? See, there are so many bad decisions being made that it's clearly not the Myers house in Halloween 5. Halloween 5 just treats you like you haven't watched this franchise before. It is like the script is being written as they shoot. See? Then Loomis has the random heart attack on top of Michael that he ends up surviving to make it to Halloween 6 in, And that's another thing that may aggravate me a little bit. How many health problems are you going to give Dr. Loomis? I mean, this man has gone through 2 explosions. He's been stabbed by Michael, tossed through a window, and now he done had a heart attack? I mean, God. At some point, it's Dr. Loomis Michael Myers, because he won't die either. Now, there are people who love Halloween 5. They say it's a masterclass in camp, and, I cannot disagree with that. It is a very campy film. Hey, Michael! I really loved when Tina, when of course Michael killed Mike and then he picked up Tina and we had the whole car scene and he drove her to the gas station to get her some smoke. I mean, that shit was good. That was funny. I found that very entertaining. So yeah, it is a campy film, but this is the Halloween franchise and we are not necessarily looking for camp. At this stage in the Halloween franchise, we are looking for films to build on that jaw-dropping twist we received in Halloween 2. The Halloween franchise looked like it was about to be a very successful franchise coming off of Halloween 1 and 2. So, I don't think producers or studios counted on Jamie Lee Curtis turning them down for 4, but she did. That was in '88. She was very much in her prime. She's still in her prime. Jamie Lee Curtis is great. She's still in her prime as we speak. And she turned down the movie, I assume. John Carpenter, we knew he wasn't going to come back. He didn't even want to do 2. So, that led to this creation of little Jamie Lloyd. And then Halloween 5 is supposed to expand on the creation of Jamie Lloyd. Make Jamie her own story. But they don't. They don't at all. This is a very random, put together film. That's all it really is. It's just randomness all around me. Also coming in at This Isn't a Man is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. But I'm going to put Halloween 6 in front of Halloween 5. Halloween 6 right off the bat has amazing atmosphere, an amazing performance from whoever that was playing Michael. I don't know who that was playing Michael. I normally know all my actors and actresses, but I don't know who that was playing Michael in particular. The Mask is about as good as it's going to get as far as all these sequels go until we make it back to Rob Zombie and Blumhouse's trilogy. So yeah, this is about as good as The Mask going to get this late into the sequels. We have a young Paul Rudd. We have Donald Pleasance returning to give us some pleasantries, no pun intended. We're back in Haddonfield. The Haddonfield environment and atmosphere as a whole feels very creepy. We still got another Myers house that I don't know how or I don't know why. We've got another Myers house that clearly isn't the Myers home. I don't know how things were going down in the 90s and the 80s, how we just failed to find that exact mask we used in 1978, or, how 6 films into this studio franchise, we can't afford to use that house we used in the original just for, I don't know, if you want to use a studio, you could use that house for at least just some, exterior shots, some outside shots, but they don't. So they use another home in this one. It's moved into by Laurie's uncle, her uncle. The house is owned by John Strode, and he's a horrible person. John Strode is a horrible person. And another thing Halloween 6 does very well, arts kills. But it is still a very messy story They really try to tell you what's going on with the cult, and they fail again. Dr. Wynn getting all the credit for Michael's madness dating back to 1978 is horrible. It's horrible. It's the worst way to go about explaining some of the things Michael has done. It ruins him as a character. I like in 1978 thinking that, that evil that was driving Michael was, so forceful that, he was able to manage and figure out how to whip that car in all that rain. Or maybe, maybe, you never know. Just observing, who knows? He might have learned how to drive. He might have learned how to drive all in his head. We don't know Michael's head. But then you give it all to Dr. Wynn, and it's just like, oh, okay. That was anti-fucking climatic, given the fact that Dr. Wynn has one goddamn scene in the first Halloween, never to be heard from again. So, it's like, Dr. Wynn? This is the film where Loomis no longer returns. Obviously, he died. There's two cuts to this film. I'm trying to remember the cuts. I know Tommy and Kara wanted Loomis to get into the car with them and come with them. He stayed back. He walked back into the hospital. And I hate to say it, another real disrespectful thing that happened, but I hate to say it, but just from the screams and what we know, I'm going to have to say he was killed by Michael. So in the original timeline, Dr. Loomis is killed by Michael. I think that's disrespectful to his character as well. I think that is a complete assault on the character of Dr. Loomis. Even if it takes a post-credit scene explaining that Loomis died from stroke or heart attack after the events of Halloween 6, fine. But having Loomis killed by Michael, I don't like. I think Loomis is a guy who very much would have walked back in, maybe, to try and reason with Michael. Maybe would have tried to shoot him a couple times, but I don't think he would have actually let Michael kill him. I think Loomis would have definitely found a way out of that. Because just like everyone gives Laurie Strode, all the credit for being this survivor. Jamie Lloyd, Rachel, they were these survivors in Halloween 4. Loomis has been a survivor, okay? Loomis is not, as we saw in Halloween 4, as we saw in Halloween 2, Loomis is not knife-proof, okay? He is not knife-proof. Loomis is not bulletproof. He is not indestructible. When Loomis is standing there talking to Michael, trying to reason with this man, he be in trouble, as we saw in Halloween 5. As he's sitting there trying to reason with Michael, he could be killed at any moment. And so I think Loomis, being such a smart survivor, he would have never given Michael the opportunity to kill him in Halloween 6. But they obviously killed off Loomis in Halloween 6. And it's not a decision I was a fan of. Now, H2O, I'll be putting in, as a matter of fact, I put H2O behind Halloween 2. Okay, so I have H2O, and as a matter of fact, it was. I don't know what people's problem is with H2O. Michael's bad. I know Michael is not the best in this film. The mask is not the best. All of the stuff about Michael is not good in this film. At least with the bad mask and the other Halloween films, we were getting good performances. But Chris Duran just could not figure out the shape. But everything else about H2O is pretty damn good. First and foremost, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. You know you were excited for that. Jodie Lynn is in this film. LL Cool J is in this film. We got Steve Miner on direction. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in this film. They bring back Nurse Marion Chambers, a fan favorite. Who else is in this film? Goddamn, who else in this film? I know somebody else in this film. Who else in this film? Michelle Williams is in this film. I mean, this film was stacked, first and foremost, and it's well put together. Does it feel too teen slashery? Sure. Is it leaning a little too close to Scream? Maybe, but you gotta remember, the original script was written by Kevin Williamson. Marco Beltrami, he's on the soundtrack. So there are some little nitpicks, right, about Halloween H2O, but it's a good damn film. Great damn film, number one. Great damn film with a damn good ending that Resurrection ruined, okay? Okay? This is where Laurie Strode became the final girl. Closing that gate, breaking the keypad with a rock, smashing that fire axe out of that case, and screaming Michael's name and hunting her brother through that school. Bad ass. opening sequence of this film, and I think the Halloween franchise gave up on their opening sequences after a little bit, even though Carpenter set the bar very high, and I think he set the tone that this is a franchise that should have a good opening sequence, finally brings itself back. I love the opening sequence. I like the fact that Marion ran over to the neighbor's home, and the cops took long, because as they do, cops always take long on disturbances like that. You gotta say somebody's being killed. But you know, cops took too long. She goes back. She sees that Laurie Strode's file has been stolen, and she runs back. I like the fact that first thing first, they wrote Marion taking the proper precautionary measures and Michael still finding a way to land the kill. I like that. I like that. I like that, you know, the opening kill, you know, has some star power, you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt being one of the opening kills. I mean, it's just the little things about H2O that just bring it together. It starts off with Mr. Sandman. Now, some say, you know, if you're going to put us in Illinois, you could have put us in Haddonfield. But since this film is starting off with Marion Chambers, it would make no sense for us to be in Haddonfield. I mean, come the fuck on. Marion wasn't living in Haddonfield before. You think she's going to move to Haddonfield now? Oh, please. So, H2O pulls a lot of things off well. Again, Jamie Lee Curtis returning and just playing a trauma victim and just really, you know, leading this film as only Jamie Lee Curtis can do in this Halloween franchise. I'm a fan of Danielle Harris. I am a fan of Scout Taylor Compton. I am a fan, but only Jamie Lee Curtis can really come in and give, like, it's like the finishing touch to really say, this is Halloween. Like, Jamie Lee's Laurie Strode makes you feel like, oh yeah, it's Halloween. So H2O, a lot of people have their problems with it. I don't. I think it's one of the best films in the franchise. I mean, look at this franchise. Really take a moment to look at this franchise and rethink how you feel about H2O. Coming in at It Needs to Die is Halloween Resurrection. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Even the people that like camp movies, I don't know how you like this. This movie has nothing to offer. Let's get one thing out the way. We bring back Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode to kill her in the opening. We've stuck her into a psychiatric hospital, you know, a mental institution, just like her big brother. Her big brother breaks in. That's a little different, Mikey. That's a little different. Breaking out. Now you're breaking in. But her big brother breaks in. He chases her to the roof. She set a trap. Somehow Michael knew. Maybe he was stalking, but he knew to, I don't know, fuck with her trauma. So he was pulling at his mask. She stepped up too close in a very un-Laurie Strode type of way, because they stuck her with all this PTSD and stuck her into this mental institution simply to give Michael a way to land that OMG kill. Halloween Resurrection, well, the name says that they were trying to resurrect Halloween for new generation and finally stop trying to keep Jamie Lee Curtis included by killing her. But from the moment Laurie Strode exits this film, it's downhill. It's downhill. It does not get better. It never gets better. Michael hands his knife over to a fucking random. I mean, come on. Come on. We're just getting some of the most uncharacteristic moments from Michael Myers I have ever seen. He lets Freddy mouth off at him in costume. This is too camp. This found footage Halloween movie, Tyra Banks, Busta Rhymes, I like those two. They ain't doing shit in this movie, not really. No, Buster's great. Tyra, she's a throwaway character. I mean, God. We could have gave the Tyra Banks at least an on-screen kill if we was going to put Tyra Banks in the film. But those two don't do anything in the film. They're just kind of here, and I don't know what purpose they serve. The characters are dry. The characters are dull. The characters are, you know, slightly known actors from the 90s, but they're dull and dry. They are dull and dry. Lastly, the ending of this film is just like, okay, shit's getting old. Coroner's van. Oh, this time he was in an explosion. Eyes pop open. What's new? You know, what's new? You sequel baited people, and people finally said, I don't want this bullshit no more. I don't want this bullshit no more. That is how bad Resurrection was. Halloween did its usual sequel bait, and it didn't work It didn't work for once. It did not work for once. All right, now with Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, it is going into get your ass away from there. I'm gonna say Halloween 4 is still better than it. I don't feel like Michael Myers needs to be explained, okay? This is a Rob Zombie film though. So I'm not gonna use Rob Zombie's stylistic choices against him. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna critique the film. I'm not gonna use his stylistic choices against him. Oh, why did Michael have to come from white trash? This, that, this, and the third. It's a Rob Zombie film. You know, it's a Rob Zombie film. You know, Michael Myers now has a stripper mother, no dad, has a pervy stepdad who's a dickhead, you know, who's bigoted. He's killing animals, you know, early signs of a psychopath. You know, it's kind of like a generic villain backstory. So I'm not going to hold it against him. I love Judith's new death in this film, though. I feel like Judith's new death is suspenseful. Beside Michael perving on her at the beginning, but other than that, I like that new death. And then I like him just sitting out there. I like I like the fact that maybe Loomis was able to reach him in the beginning. He was still talking to his mother. You know, we're getting a different version of Michael Myers. We're getting the human version of Michael Myers. In this film, unlike the original, we would find out in this film that Laurie Strode is the daughter. That Laurie Strode is the sister, of Michael Myers. And then as far as the first act goes, the whole second act is a carbon copy of 1978. I know it's a remake, but I mean, damn. I like the new actresses in this film. Scout Taylor Compton is amazing, and Danielle Harris is amazing. They have such great on-screen chemistry. Sheriff Brackett is better in this film because that's Brad fucking Dourif. Yes, I love Sheriff Chucky. And I like William McDowell's Dr. Loomis. See, it's the subtle changes that I liked, and then it's the things that he may have stayed too true to the original that I did not like. I also like Rob Zombie's third act. I felt like this Halloween movie had a great third act. I like Scout's performance again. Scout, on top of Michael, and then she shoots him and she just starts screaming and losing her fucking shit. I find that just so great. I liked a lot of things about this movie, then I disliked a lot of things about this movie, but I feel like the dislikes are more minor while the likes are more major, which has this film right here in the middle of the pack section. And I think that can be said for audiences as well, given the fact that this movie was able to warrant a sequel. A sequel I'm putting in last place. I'm gonna put... You know what? I'm gonna say Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is better than Halloween Resurrection. The opening sequence is great. Michael kills Nurse Ma. He slaughters the hospital. He chases Laurie. We have a whole good opening sequence, but to find out that was all a dream, it almost negates it to a degree, because it is such a good opening sequence. Everyone knows Halloween 2 took place in the hospital. So to see this Halloween 2 star in the hospital, we may be thinking the same thing, but not really. We don't go through the entire movie seeing Laurie, seeing the hospital worker stalked and eventually killed by Michael. We are thrusted straight into the action. We know Annie's there. That adds a sense of suspense, a sense of, whoa, okay, shit, Annie made it, number one. That's different. Number two, Annie is also in danger. Annie is a character you care about. I mean, if you don't care about Annie, I don't know. That's just you. But I feel like Annie, especially Danielle Harris playing Annie, is a character you care about. So Annie being in that hospital, Octavia Spencer was a very good casting. She was someone that you knew early. It's always nice to see a well-known actress / actor early in a film. It'll always, it'll always put the audience at ease that, at least you don't have to worry about performances, and that, whatever scene it involves, it's going to be a good scene, because Octavia Spencer has some of the best range in all of the industry, and it was no different. It was no different in this. Michael absolutely brutally slaughtered Nurse Octavia, because that was her name in the film. Now, outside of its opening sequence, it's horrible. It's horrible. I don't like Laurie's new personality. I don't like her new friends. I love Annie still. I love Sheriff Chucky still. Loomis is absolutely god-awful in this one. I mean, you could tell he was leaning. He was leaning on being a dickhead in the first one. In this one, he is just a dickhead. I disagree with that. I think Dr. Loomis had some shady dickheadish ways, but I wouldn't make him just a full-fledged dickhead out the blue. He's wrote a book, for crying out loud. He's wrote a book. He's exposed Laurie's identity in that book. Dr. Loomis would never do that. So I thought that was pretty bad. I always found that to be just horrible. The kills are great. The biggest problem with Halloween 2 is that somewhere along the line, right, Sherry Moon Zombie and Rob Zombie, they probably said it in their vows, right? I will put you in every film I make, in sickness and in health, my love. Even if I kill you in the previous film, I will put you in every film I make. At some point, those words came out of Rob Zombie's mouth, because there is no reason for Deborah Myers to be here, but she is here. And that throws me. Michael is homeless. He's half-masked. He even talks. Was it the director's cut or the theatrical? It might have been the director's or the producer's cut. But he says, die! And then he stabs. Is it Loomis? Yeah. And they killed the good doctor, who's honestly the bad doctor in this film. It's just a lot of things did not like about Halloween 2. Maybe Rob Zombie was tired and didn't want to necessarily make another Halloween, because he definitely did not even try close to really stay in the Halloween genre. I mean, Halloween 2 goes as far as even in chase scenes. We don't even get that classic Halloween score. We get, the dum, da-dum. We're not even getting classic Halloween. We're not hitting anything on the Halloween vibes. I didn't like that. And another really questionable moment in my opinion, really questionable, is Sheriff Brackett's home location. Why on earth does Sheriff Brackett stay all the way out there as the sheriff, right? Wouldn't the sheriff want to be somewhere, I don't know, closer, quicker access to town? That's just me. There were just some little things you can also nitpick about the film. I don't like Annie's death. I feel like if you're going to give us Annie Halloween 2, if you're going to defy Halloween 1, continue to defy Halloween 1 and build on Annie and give Laurie something, damn it. She's already lost it all. Give her something. Give her something. And they just don't do that. So Halloween 2, it's not great. It's horrible, but it's better than Halloween Resurrection. Halloween 2018 is going in. It was the Boogeyman. Perfect return to form. Some people try to nitpick 2018 to a crazy level. Some of the jokes in it are bad. I got peanut butter on my penis. Or, I'm a doctor. Lock your doors. Some lines are just bullshit in Halloween 2018. Laurie Strode is a very interesting character in 2018. Karen is written to be unlikable. I think a lot of people try to use that against 2018 when they talk about it. Oh, Karen's the worst. Karen was written to be the worst. Karen was written. I think that's why they may have named her Karen. Goddamn, I mean, she was written just to be like, you really gonna treat your mama like this, or you really not gonna listen to your mama. But at the same time, Laurie plays, the noun game. The bus crashed. The bus? I didn't even know a bus was being moved. That shit is dumb. So, there are some moments in 2018 where a conversation would explain everything easily. But see, that would be too organized to be a Halloween night in Haddonfield. John Carpenter returns on the score. Excellent. James Jude Courtney is casted as Michael Myers, the best in this entire franchise, right next to Nick Castle. Could put him higher than Castle. His personal preference. I still have Castle at 1, but Jude Courtney is right at 2. He is also the only actor to reprise his role as Myers in 3 films, so that is also very good. Excuse me. The kills in 2018, the kills are very good. I like a lot. I like Dr. Sartain. A lot of people didn't like Dr. Sartain, but I like Sartain, and I like him being I like him switching to a villain. I felt like that was a nice twist. I just felt like it's a twist you could kind of predict because unlike Loomis, he never really, in my opinion, masqueraded as a guy who's trying to help everyone. He seemed more obsessed with Michael mustn't be killed. You know, he must not be killed. And that was kind of obvious just because of the way he was talking. Like, you don't care about the harm he could inflict on others right now. You just care about the fact that you know he's being hunted by every single law enforcement officer in the town. And there's a good shot he could be killed. So, and then the ending is pretty goddamn good. I love it's not a cage, it's a trap. Now, obviously, Lori, spends her whole life preparing for that plan, and shit just goes south really quickly. Shit goes south. It just goes to show that Michael is an unpredictable force, and you cannot actually prepare for fighting Michael Myers. So I did enjoy Halloween 2018 very much. I enjoyed it a lot. I can still remember sitting in that theater, seeing Jamie Lee Curtis's name and hearing cheers erupt, seeing John Carpenter's name and hearing the cheers erupt. Halloween 2018 was a film made for the fans of this franchise. It was a film made to bring Michael Myers back on top, and that's what they damn it did, okay? Halloween 2018 is phenomenal. I loved it. Fans loved it, and it warranted 2 more sequels. Halloween Kills being the second sequel in the trilogy. Halloween Kills, I'm gonna put it in, as a matter of fact it was, and I keep it behind H2O. Oh, I like Halloween Kills. I think the flashback scenes are great. I'm not a fan of The Evil Dies Tonight. I'm just not a fan of the mob at all. I'm not a fan of the vigilante justice they were seeking. I'm not convinced they wouldn't. I'm just not convinced they do it in that manner. Halloween Kills just kind of made Haddonfield seem like the stupidest place on earth, and maybe it is. So that's obviously the biggest, in my opinion, worst part of Halloween Kills is the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode is confined to a hospital room for the whole movie, which means you have got to put great characters in this film. I like Allison's arc. I like that Allison wants to become her own final girl. Warming up to Karen slightly. Kinda like Tommy. Loved Lonnie. Loved Cameron in this movie. They had some good redemption arcs for characters. Brought Marion back just to kill her. I did not like that. I don't like that. I don't know why they keep doing that, but I didn't like that. The whole little crew that was in that car, I just wasn't a fan of. Just all idiots all around. And they brought Lindsay Wallace back, and they did nothing with her, which was quite the shocker to me. Kyle Richards obviously has more star power than Anthony Michael Hall, who was playing Tommy, but also, well, she's just as much of a victim as Tommy, but he was leading the charge in The Evil Dies Tonight, and he had all the monologue, and he had all the trauma. But if you get the Lindsay Wallace back, right, you get the original Lindsay Wallace back, I feel like you should have kind of switched those roles maybe, and everyone knows Final Girls are much better received in horror than Final Boys. Everyone knows that. And so, they kind of tried to give Tommy this Final Boy-esque role until, of course, his untimely demise. And then that was, of course, probably one of the other dumb moments in exchange for a badass Michael Myers moment. We see maybe the stupidest jumping in the history of jumpings, because you were supposed to be jumping, but everybody, kind of backed up and let people have their 1v1s with them, which was dumb. They got him on the ground, didn't shoot him in the head. They want to talk to him. They thought you had to be close to shoot him in the head. Just a lot of moments that say this is a movie and not real life, I mean, come on now. You can't convince me that Sheriff Brackett could be held back after finally having his moment and wouldn't instantly put a fucking bullet in the back of Michael's head. You can't convince me of that. You can't convince me that Karen didn't show up with a gun. You can't convince me that everybody didn't show up with a gun. Tommy and Lonnie were loaded. And even if Lonnie is dead now, well, we made it to the Myers home. So we were definitely able to locate Lonnie's car. All I'm saying is somebody has some guns, okay? Somebody has some guns. And I think the fact that there weren't all guns out there, well, you knew Michael realistically should not be coming back from that. And Loomis can shoot him 6 times. Laurie can shoot him a couple times and stab him. And we may say, all right, typical Michael. But no, that whole mob had guns and he was still, rising up. It was going to be bullshit. So there are a lot of errors in Halloween Kills. People shit on it for the story. It's a middle of a trilogy. It's the middle. You're not going to necessarily get too much meat off the story bone when you think about it being the middle of a trilogy. It's the middle. It's kind of the action. It's the rising action and the climax, in my opinion. It's the climax right now. We're climaxing. It's called Halloween Kills for a reason. There is a story, because I think when you look at this film, Tommy and Laurie are clear protagonists. They're clear main characters. Allison too. Karen too. But when you really think about it, your protagonist of Halloween Kills is actually Michael Myers. That's who your actual protagonist is, in my opinion. He's the protagonist and the antagonist, because a lot of the story isn't there, because a lot of the film, we are with Michael as he makes his path back home. There is no story to him killing a few people on the way back home. It's just what he does. If he's creeping through the shadows, just like in Halloween 2, if he's creeping through the shadows and a random girl piques his attention, he might break in and kill him. In this case, he was leaving Laurie's compound after slaughtering the fire department, and he decided to go kill Phil and absolutely ruin Sandra's life. Because at that point, if you're Sandra, it's like, if you ain't kill me, now you've just ruined my life. I gotta live with that shit forever. And after killing Phil and Sandra, I can't remember what he did after Phil and Sandra. He stops at the park. After killing Phil and Sandra, he stops at the park, kills a random little kid, kills the whole car with Marion, the nurse, the doctor, and I think that was it in the car. Marion, the nurse, and the doctor. And then he takes his ass home. And if we knew he was going home, right? Now here's where you can rip on the story. If you knew he was going home, right, and the police had no answers and they have no reason not to investigate what you said, right? You know what could happen? You could have told the police, we've got a straight, just how Lonnie showed them. You could say, hey, just leave the hospital, because we've got a straight line of bodies to the Myers home. So there was a lack of, again, another Halloween film where obviously they use a lack of communication skills to create, plot devices. That is something I did not enjoy. And then finally, I'm putting ends and get your ass away from there. It is better than this film, though. The most controversial entry in the trilogy. Possibly one of the most controversial entries in the franchise, because it's not a bad movie. Everyone knows it's not a bad movie. Doesn't have much Michael, but it's not a bad movie at all. This movie builds on a lot. This movie has story. This movie tells an actual story again in the Halloween franchise. When's the last time we told a real story? We actually dived back into the evil. We kind of dived back into like the Dr. Loomis X side of it all, When's the last time we've done that? Hasn't happened in ages. Ends is one of the most controversial entries because I think everyone can acknowledge Ends is a very well put together movie. It's well shot. It has beautiful shots. It has great acting. It is well casted, okay? The kills are pretty good, and it's just a lack of Myers, and I have to tend to remind people, because it is a valid grievance. It is a valid grievance. I'm not going to say it's not a valid grievance, but I tend to remind people this is Halloween, not Michael Myers. And Michael's still very much there. They're just using him in a role they felt like he needed. Some people don't like Corey being able to whoop his ass and take the mask from him. I don't know. I think this thing is trying to show you that Michael ain't special. That evil can come in all shapes and sizes. Michael is not the only Michael, so to say. I think that's what Ends was trying to tell you. Like Lori said, evil doesn't die. It changes shape. Michael is her boogeyman, but he isn't the boogeyman. I think that's what people were trying to get across. You know, he's Haddonfield's boogeyman, right? But he isn't the boogeyman. And that's the message Ends was trying to get across. I like that Ends tried to have a theme. I like that Ends finally, you couldn't predict what the heck was happening. I love that, honestly. You know, these Halloween movies have a formula. Ends did not. And I like the lack of formula, and, you know, actually just creating your own film for once. And no wonder John Carpenter was so proud of it. I think John Carpenter liked it. I really do. You know, some people said he said it just for his check. I think Carpenter really liked it. When you think about Carpenter's original vision for Halloween, I think Halloween Ends. I think he very well endorsed that idea. I think he liked the entire, you know, the entire premise of it. I really do. I don't think Carpenter's lying just for his check. I do think Carpenter liked Halloween Ends. A lot of people did not like Halloween Ends, but you know, its audience score continues to increase one by one. It still managed to make about $100 million at the box office. Laurie Strode and Michael Myers still had a little fight at the end, you know. But let's be honest, after Halloween Kills, if we're still going to remain adamant that Michael is a human, but also a human being who's nearly in his 70s, this is a realistic nerfing of his character. I mean, to his credit, you know, Smith's Grove Jim was on some real shit, because he was in great shape in 2018. But yeah, I doubt he'd be in good shape now. Now, there were some things I like because they try to show, you know, okay, as he, you know, the more he kills, stronger he gets. You know, they try to show him powering up after killing. Him and Corey had a couple of duo kills. And, you know, it was okay at first, because at the same time, it's like, it wasn't necessarily explaining Michael right, but Corey may have had that evil in him, right, to where Michael didn't see Corey as prey. I think Michael identified with Corey as a predator, right? You know, it depends on how you want to read it. See, that's just it. It's the final film in the trilogy, and that's the problem. That's the real problem. It's the final film in the trilogy, and not, let's say, maybe the middle film. You know, Corey could have been introduced. We could have maybe got some preamble into Corey. Maybe we found out about all of Corey's misfortunes during Kills, maybe, you know, at the end of Kills. Maybe we get a, you know, at the ending of Kills, maybe we could have got the opening sequence to Halloween Ends or something to that degree. Just anything to drop a breadcrumb about this whole Corey Cunningham saga that they were gonna try to explain in one movie, because that's the problem. You can't explain the Corey Cunningham. You can't explain all this stuff involving Corey in one movie. Not even in a 2-hour movie. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's too much you're trying to dive into, while also trying to cater to 2 stories you just told in 2018 in Kills. So you just can't do it. And that is where David Gordon Green went wrong. Now, some people in the Halloween franchise try to treat David Gordon Green like a war criminal or something, you know. Obviously, you know, he could have done a better job, but I think he did a damn good job. And, you know, if he wanted to be brought back, you know, I say, why not, you know. I like his direction. I like the way he directs the films. But, you know, some people didn't, and that is their prerogative. But here is my list. Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, Kills, 4, Ends, Halloween, Curse of Michael, 5, 209, and Resurrection. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and coming to just chill with me and listening to my tier list. I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time on the Chop Block.